Good day, everyone. My name is Drunken Leprechaun. I am a warbird instructor from Take Flight, and today I will be running through the basics of operating the F4U-1D Corsair. I am no way an expert on this airframe. I will be skipping over some items or other information during the video. For more detailed information, please consider joining our Discord and participating in one of our classes. I'll be trying my best to run through everything uh, pretty quickly as possible in regards to just the cold start, navigation, arming, taxiing, takeoff, air to ground, and landing within this video today. If you have more time, I may cover some more items in this video. Otherwise, I will have another video to cover air to air, carrier takeoffs, carrier landings, and radio navigation and usage of the bat bomb in particular. I am using a large resolution monitor and recording on a lower resolution. I will be doing my best to explain verbally what I am doing throughout the video, so do not be alarmed if I pull up the options menu like this or the adjust controls and you can't read the text and whatnot. Do not worry, I will verbally explain what I am looking at and doing throughout the video for you. I am also using a Track IR Pro system, so if you see me on the screen moving my head around like this, any random movements or whatnot, um, just don't just disregard like any random movements. It is what it is with my Track IR system, just getting a drink of water or checking my notes, so I apologize ahead of time for that. But otherwise, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll get right into the cold start procedures. So, the first thing we want to do for the cold start, we want to open up our knee board. We want to use a knee board. If you don't not have if you haven't got a knee board already or installed a knee board, you can find knee boards available on the DCS user files page. Instructions on how to install and download them are usually within the download itself on the DCS user files page where the user is hosting the file. They should provide instructions, but it's simply put, it goes into your user directory of your Windows drive and goes to your saved games directory within your user profile, and then there should be a DCS or a DCS open beta folder. Within that folder, if it's not created already, create a knee board folder, and you should be able to just drop the files right in there for the airframe. The download should have a folder for the airframe already. If not, there should be instructions. You essentially just got to copy the name of the folder within the game directory, exactly how it's labeled, into your save games folder. I can explain that further within our Discord. Again, for further instructions, just join the Discord, and it's all listed out there clearly. Then I can explain verbally without any visual aids per se. I do have a knee board, a preferred knee board. It's one that we created within Take Flight, created by myself here. To access your knee board within the Warbirds, it's going to be the right control up arrow key on the keyboard. That is the keybind. Right control, holding down the right control and hitting up arrow accesses your knee board. To change pages, it's going to be holding the right control again and hitting the left or right arrow. Your installed knee boards, for most cases, will be off to the right hand side, so I'm just going to move the knee board to the right. This is an in-game page that comes with the Corsair. It's some engine settings. We will reference this at a later point. And here we are with our knee board. This is the Take Flight knee board that I created for the purpose of this course. And you should be able to move around the knee board. There you go. It's a bit finicky on how to click and drag. I'm going to move it off to my right hand side because that's just more natural for me. So let's just get started going down the checklist here. On this page we have our startup procedures as listed here, and our pre-startup are things that we are going to need to do. Some things will be already preset for us that we don't have to do, but some of them we do have to do. So let's just go through the checklist here. Our first step is to open up our cowl flaps. The cowl flaps control the temperature for our cylinder head temperature, our cylinder heads on our engine. To open up the cowl flaps, there are keybinds for it. If you don't have a keybind, the cowl flaps are located on the right hand side. To the top of the right hand side, there are 3 black levers. The furthest lever to the right, if you hover over the black knob of it, it should read cowl flaps lever. It's the black lever within the engine section of the cooling flaps up for the three levers. To open up the cowl flaps, just left click it and hold it in the upward position. And you should see the cowl flaps start to extrude, as you can see on screen, on the port and starport side of the engine, on both sides of the engine. Once it's fully open, just let go. Again, that's on the right hand side. You got nice labels here that shows open and close in the direction that you need to put that lever towards. Next step is we need to put our supercharger to neutral. The supercharger is located on our left hand side. It's located within the throttle quadrant system here. The supercharger is going to be the middle black lever with the words SC on the knob. It's also labeled here as supercharger within the throttle quadrant itself. The neutral position will be the fully forward position, which it is now. This is the supercharger moving. Fully forward is neutral, as clearly indicated right here, and then you have a low and high setting for the supercharger. Just make sure it's fully forward. Next step up is mixture to idle. That's also going to be on our left hand side here. It's also going to be within this throttle quadrant section per se. The mixture lever will be this red knob lever. It should be fully aft in the red zone for off. You see on the side here of the throttle quadrant, you should see the idle's hidden here, but it should read idle, and it shows off right here. And then you have auto lean and then auto rich fully forward. Again, the mixture control is this lever moving right now on my screen. It's the red knob with the word M on it for mixture. Next up is next up in our checklist. We want to set our throttle half an inch forward. Again, our throttle is going to be on the left hand side. It's obviously within the throttle quadrant. It's going to be the furthest far left black lever here. It's the largest one with the word M on it. It's the one moving on the screen right now in front of you. It's also got the words throttle right on the throttle quadrant, and close for fully aft, no power, zero power, no power per se, and then fully forward for fully open, fully max power. You did see, since I did it already, that is an indent right there. Once you go past that indent, that's essentially war emergency power. It's changing the mixture, or will change the mixture to about 50% water, or add, I should say, a 50% water, 50% alcohol-based content into your engine to essentially keep it cool at a high power as you enter that war emergency power. Again, that's only for emergencies, so I do not recommend doing it. But in regards to our checklist, I got ahead of ourselves. Just leave it half an inch forward. We do that to let the engine catch properly, make sure there is fuel going into the system and keeping it going, and that it's catching after we do our startup procedures. So just leave it half an inch forward, no further forward. We are pretty safe actually in the Corsair for the most part in regards to tipping over. I haven't experienced much tip overs myself or issues with like potentially tipping forward. However, just half inch forward. Any much further, you could flood the engine per se accidentally if it's too much, and or cause a tippage of the airframe forward and break the propeller. So just keep it half an inch forward. Next up, it's on the same line here. We want to ensure our propeller governor is also in the max position. That's on the left-hand side. Also by that throttle quadrant. Towards the back of it, it's quite hidden, a little bit hidden. It blends in with the wall. There is a black lever here. You can probably see the black knob more. If you hover over it, it shows as propeller governor. I'm going to move it now on the screen. It's the lever moving right now. That is the propeller governor. Fully up is in the full decrease position. That's in the lowest amount of RPMs per se, and the full down position, that is in the max increase RPMs position. We want to leave it in the full down position for max increase. Next up on our checklist is battery on. We need to put on the battery for this our system here, our airframe. That's located on the right hand side. There's a top row of switches here on the right hand side. The first switch to the far left of that top row of switches, it should read battery. You have words on and off. On's up top. Just left click that switch into the upward position for on. And Yeah, next up, yeah, we'll go to our left hand side. We need to swap our fuel tank to reserve. The fuel tank selectors are on our left hand side. It's essentially more by our left hip or left knee. The fuel tank selector is going to be this red metallic like corkscrew knob per se. I honestly don't know the exact term for it. I'll just call it a corkscrew knob. It's the red knob moving on the screen right now for you. You just want to left click it until it gets to the top indicator for reserve. So for my understanding of how this fuel tank system works, the main tank is pressurized. The reserve tank, to my understanding, is sort of gravity fed from the main tank. So essentially why we want to swap to the reserve tank or operate on the reserve tank in regards to this startup procedure for taxiing and takeoff is the fact that since the reserve tank is gravity fed, if for some reason the main tank had no fuel in it, hopefully whatever was in the main tank was gravity fed into the reserve tank and you have some fuel left in the reserve tank to ensure for safety you're going. If you like only have like 10 gallons left in the main tank, per se, or 5 gallons, I should say, right? You're doing your taxi and you take off and the engine just cuts off on you, right? That's bad news. So just go to the reserve tank and you should be fine in regards to any problems with like fuel or if you didn't check your fuel. In regards to fuel, since we're mentioning it, the fuel gauge for the amount of fuel that you have on board, that's going to be located on the right hand side towards the top on this sort of right vertical panel, on this right hand side vertical panel. You have an instrument to the top left of it. It says fuel main tank. It's actually reading both your main and reserve tank of 180 plus 50. It's reading both your tanks right there. That is your fuel gauge. So I suggest after you take off, do swap it back to the main tank. So if at any point your engine dies out and you swap to the reserve and the engine continues to catch, you know that you ran out of fuel of your main tank and you only have 50 gallons left, and you should think about next steps of finishing up what you're doing and getting back. Next up is fuel pump on. We want to turn on a fuel pump. Oh boy, I don't remember off the top of my head. I would just recommend you always leave this on. The fuel pump is located on the right hand side to the top row of switches. It's the second switch. It's clearly indicated as a red switch here. The upward position is the onward position. Just left click it into the onward position. You do not need this on constantly throughout the flight. I would just leave it on personally for recommendation, as this would be quite easily to forget to swap on when you do need it. Per se, in regards to just like if you had fuel tanks on board or swapping tanks, you need to have that fuel pump on. Um, so you need to have it on at high altitudes while you're climbing. So there's a lot of instances where you should have it on. So just leave it on. There's no issue with leaving it on that I have experienced. So just leave it on in the upward position. You will be fine. Next up in our checklist here is we want to hold the primer for 5 seconds. But we just want to get the engine a little boost for catching for startup. So we're going to prime the engines. That's located on the right hand side here. Again, top row of switches. There's a word primer here above the switch and the off position right below it. Left click. You're going to left click and hold it for a good 5 Mississippis. I'll do that now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let go. You hear a tone when it's running like that. Alright, we have primed our engines. Next up, we need to turn on both our magneto switches, set our ignition to both. To do that, the magneto switches are located in an odd spot. They're located on our left-hand side over here, to the top on this left vertical panel, again, per se. It's going to be to the left of this tail wheel landing gear. To the left of it, you should see this nickel like knob or switch. It should be by default on off. This is your magneto switch to turn on your magnetos and whatnot. So you're just going to left click it all the way to both. So both the left and right magnetos are active. And as long as you don't have, as I'm doing this right now, as long as you don't have the setting, there's a special setting called random system failures. Sorry, my English is very bad in trying to pronounce that. Say that all at once. As long as you don't have that special setting enabled to randomize system fails, um, you do not need to do necessarily any system checks. You should have a perfectly good airframe on startup. Keep in mind though that the Corsair is still in early access. There are a lot of bugs and whatnot, but just what I'm saying that in regards to the magneto switches, after startup, you can essentially swap this to the left magneto. The airframe should still keep running. You should see like a slight drop in RPM in or manifold pressure, but essentially during the startup, you could check the magnetos, make sure both magnetos are working. Um, but you don't need to do any kind of system checks. As long as you don't have that special option enabled, you have a perfectly good airframe on every startup, unless the server you're on has done something finicky with it. So just left click that all the way to the fully left both position. Alright, now we are ready to actually sort of start the engine. To get the engine going and caught. So the next steps in our procedure is going to be a sort of a 2 to 3 step process. So I'm going to explain the process first, and then I will execute the process for you. So reading off our checklist here, right? The first step in our engine startup process is holding the starter in the onward position. So I'm just going to actually not read through the checklist per se. I'm just going to explain to you verbally what I would do. So to start the engine, this engine starter is going to be on our right hand side. It's clearly indicated with this red cover for starter. You just got to left click it open. You can't actually with the current implementation of the module, you can click through the cover. Just be careful not to do that. It won't actually work. You got to lift up the cover. So just lift up the cover. In regards to what we're going to do here, I'm going to left click and hold that starter switch. When I'm left clicking and holding that starter switch, I'm going to move my head and monitor my RPMs. The RPMs will start to sort of wiggle a little bit right here, and then the RPMs will jump to 300. Once I see those RPMs jump to 300, I'm going to send that mixture control to idle. To auto lean, from idle to auto lean, and then immediately to auto rich. Once I do that, the RPMs will jump from 300 to 500 RPMs. As soon as I see 500 RPMs, I'm going to let go of the starter switch. Once I do that, the RPM should jump up to 700, up to 700 RPMs. And at that point in time, I'm going to move my throttle or control the RPMs so I maintain a state of 750 RPMs with the throttle control. Alright, so I will sort of show you that process now. I don't think I screwed up anything, but if I get a bad start, it's probably because I moved the items already. But I can make do with that and adjust as needed. So here we go. I'm going to left click and hold the starter. I'm going to monitor these RPMs. 300. I lean, rich, let go of the starter, and moving the throttle to maintain 750 RPMs. And it doesn't sound like we have any issues, so that's a good start. Again, as long as you don't have any random system fails and you didn't do anything else wrong with your startup checklist, you should be perfectly fine. I'm going to close my canopy so you can hear me. You can taxi with the canopy open. I recommend taxiing with the canopy open, but I'm just going to close it. Just make sure you can hear me over the sound of the engine. Again, that's a pretty weird, like, I want to say weird, but regards to the instructions out there, in regards to like the training of the in-game training material, it can be quite hard to understand the points of when to send the mixture control forward and when to release the starter. So the main concept is, right, just hold on to the starter switch, just hold it, watch those RPMs. As soon as you see the RPM go to 300, just do what I did, send the mixture to auto lean, and then immediately after to auto rich. Those RPMs will jump up to 500. As soon as you see the RPMs get to about 500, just let go of the starter switch and the RPM should rise to 700, and then just adjust it with throttle to get it to 750 and hold it at 750. Once you understand the actual key points of like 300, 500, and when to release those things, whatnot, it's really easy to start up. It should be really easy to start up. Okay, and that's that for engine startup. So next up, that covers the cold start, so to speak. So next I want to talk about is some basic navigation concepts. within the Warbirds. Again, there will be another video going over radio navigation, but I do want to just cover the basic concepts of navigation for this period or era per se. Apologize, just grabbing a drink of water. So for navigation, let's talk about some instruments in regards to navigation that we have on board. So within our center panel here, let's just go off to the left here, and we'll just talk about the altimeter first. So on the center panel, off to the left, top left, you have an instrument here that is your altimeter. It should say ALT. You can't see the L, but it's altimeter. There are two ways in regards to how to set up our altimeter on startup. One, you can simply zero out the altimeter to the current airfield we are at. To do that, you would simply go to the bottom left of the instrument. There is a black knob here. Just left click and hold and move your mouse up and down, or use the mouse wheel. And just rotate it until both arrows get to the 0. And that's one way to set it. Or, you can see here, we do have a barometric pressure of inches mercury here on the right hand side of that instrument. It's in twos. To get our barometric pressure, to set our altimeter to the current barometric pressure that we're at, we can get that from the briefings page. The weather information is usually from the briefings page that we can find. To do that, we hit the escape key, go to the briefing, and we scroll all the way down. All the weather information is usually at the very bottom. It's usually in its own section like this, or in a table. Here, I know you can't probably read it. It's showing 29902 for inches of mercury. So we just come back here, go back to that black knob, and rotate that until this here gets to 2 opposite direction, 29902, and these are should be in 0.2s, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yep. So just going to move that to right about there, and that's setting the altimeter to the current pressure environment area that you're at currently right now. Next up, in regards to the instruments for navigation, we have in front of us a repeater compass, which is based off the magnetic heading. I find that these repeater compasses are a bit off on the Warbirds. They're not quite as accurate, or pretty, not quite accurately representing the actual magnetic heading in game per se. Especially when you're in the upward position like this, a lot of instruments do not read correctly on the ground in this sort of like upward weird G configuration, gravity configuration. It also should screw up your fuel gauge calculator per se when you're sitting like this. In regards to like the fuel sitting in your tank. But so I'm going to actually cheat a little bit here to get my magnetic heading. I'm just going to hit the F10 button really quick. I'm just going to click on my name, and to the bottom left, I'm just going to take that blue number, 212 degrees is my current magnetic heading. What I'm going to do with that is, you also have another heading indicator within the Warbirds. Off to the left of this repeater compass, we have here a directional gyro compass. What you want to do on startup is sync your directional gyro compass to your current magnetic heading, because we always want to use magnetic headings. Everyone just uses the magnetic headings, so we just always want to use magnetic headings. Right now, it actually looks right on point for 212. If you did need to change it, again, as mentioned before, the F4U module is still in early access. It's quite buggy. I've had some issues trying to sync this or move it, but you would just, this black knob right below it is how you would move it. You just click on it. Somewhere on the top, you should be able to click on it. If you click on it in the middle, it cages it, and sometimes that allows you to move it. It's just very finicky. Sometimes it doesn't want to work. If it doesn't work just yet, just try again in the ear if you have to try to sync it. Yeah, it's just it does move. I've had it move, but again, it's very finicky, this module. It's still got some bugs in it. It's just not letting me move it right now for this demonstration. But you would just rotate this clockwise or counterclockwise until you get to the current magnetic heading for syncing it. Yeah, it's just not rotating for me currently. going to increase my RPMs a bit. Okay, so I just found out that as well. So, let's see if that's actually moving now. Aha. Alright, so I just found out something doing this live. So this is going to be a single shot video. This is more live per se of a live video. I know you're going to see it after the fact to record it, but this should be a single shot video. I don't do video editing. I don't have any fancy software. So what I just did, because I haven't, we'll talk about this during radio navigation. I just looked over here to my right hand side on this right vertical panel, and that's why needed to apply brakes. I'm gonna apply some brakes. Apologize for that. So what I just did is I looked over here to my right hand side really quick. On my right vertical panel, there's a, you see it, this needle rising? This is your voltage, your amperage, your battery indicator, how many volts you're having. I just was seeing if that was the case, if I just didn't have enough juice in the system, because a lot of the stuff within the Corsair is electrically executed. And that looks like to be the case. I just didn't have enough juice and battery to rotate that directional compass. So that's all good to note. If that's not working, just ensure you have your brakes. I did not ensure I had my brakes, so I just taxied onto the grass here. So just ensure you have your brakes and send that RPM, that throttle, just slightly up. You should be able to safely rev at 1,000 RPMs just fine. And yeah, it looks like my battery is holding good there. Alright, so I'm just going to rotate this now to 212 to sync it to my magnetic heading. Yeah, this is a lot of things being found out live here. That's good. And or not. There's a lot of bugs to this thing. It's still very new, early access. 212. Great, and I'll uncage that. Next up, since we're already here on this instrument panel, to the right here we have our VSI, our attitude indicator per se. We just want to uncage this. To do that, off to the bottom right here you see it pulled to turn. Just left click it to uncage it to get that operational. Next up, in regards to basic concepts of navigation, I'm going to hit the F10 screen. And we'll talk about how to navigate per se. So I'm first going to zoom out here. I'm going to go up to Katasi over here. I've been using this as a point of reference for explaining basic navigation concepts. So there are two main ways per se to navigate in a warbird. You have like dead reckoning and pilotage. Dead reckoning is essentially just flying from point A to point B. So essentially dead reckoning is saying, hey, I'm coming from Batumi and I just want to fly a dead heading, i.e. dead reckoning of 038 until I hit Katasi, and that's dead reckoning. I just fly from point A to point B on a single plot course, a single bearing, just a straight course, dead reckoning. Pilotage consists of multiple things. It consists of dead reckoning. It also includes using landmarks, fixed points, and landfalls. So it's about 4 things in total. It sort of just makes use of all those, i.e. pilotage. So in regards to landmarks and fixed points, they can be used interchangeably. So Katasi here, you can say, is a sort of a landmark. It's kind of distinguishable as a runway amongst the other terrain within its vicinity. It's quite distinguishable in regards to this current terrain aspect. It's also a fixed point, right? It's a single fixed point on a piece of terrain in space. It's just a fixed point as well. For landfalls, landfalls are something within the map or the terrain that creates a natural path that you can follow. So for instance, this stream here to the south of Katasi, going from left to right, it's sort of a landfall, right? You can see that there's a clear path going from left to right or right to left. You can see that there's a clear path created from this this feature of terrain. You can also say that this mountain range up north here is a landfall reference. It creates this identifiable feature that's like a path per se, right? You can see that there's a single line per se of a path going from left to right. And then obviously, hence the name landfall, this mass of land, this landfall is a landfall. It can be used as a landfall reference. It's creating a natural path north to south uh, of where the land meets the water. So to bring this all into play, how I would use starting off like with a landfall reference. Say this was like the Normandy map per se, and I'm taking off from England. I'm crossing the channel, and I want to get to Katasi. So right, in regards to my plotting of my course, I would simply use sort of like a dead reckoning reference of like I'm just going to take off and fly straight due east. If I know that I'm gonna, this is again I'm gonna caveat this if I know that I'm going to be arriving north of Katasi, just based on general geographical reference, right? I know I'm that like I'm to the north somewhere of Katasi, with that caveat, correct? So I'm heading over the water. I'm going to use dead reckoning to just fly east until I hit my landfall reference marker that I'm going to use, which is essentially just the landfall until I hit this landmass. Once I hit my landfall marker reference, I'm going to follow its path south into another fixed point or landmark of my choosing, or another landfall of my choosing, if that's the case, until I reach, I would say, here. This landmark right here. This is quite distinguishable if I know I'm arriving from the north of Katasi, right? If I follow this landfall to the south, there's no other sort of reference like this of a mouth-opening river with a land of this size in between it with a city right to the due north of it, right? So that's an identifiable landmark I would use as reference points to turn left, and then I know the stream goes by Katasi if I'm looking at a map, right, in general reference. At that point, I know I would just turn left and follow the stream. And I would use Sanaki as a fixed point as a reference if I know that there's two runways in question along this path. The first runway in question is not my target. So I would know if I follow this path, this river, I pass my first fixed point of this runway. I would know that my next fixed point, the second runway, is going to be my target or the place I want to get to in question, right? And that's sort of how you use basic navigation concepts with the Warbirds error. I just want to make sure that you understand like sort of those basic concepts, as most servers and some campaigns they have fog of war enabled, and there's no labels. You can't see yourself or others, so you do need to get comfortable with being able to navigate visually per se. All right. And that's all I wanted to cover on basic concepts of navigation. So we're just hitting the F1 key and getting back into the cockpit here. All right. Next up, while we're on the ground, we'll talk about arming our weapons. So in regards to this tutorial, we're going to practice using the guns. We're going to use H4 rockets, and we're going to go over a dive bomb technique called the half-rolled method. So first off, we gotta arm our aircraft. We're gonna hit the // key. Brings up the comms menu to the top right. We're gonna hit the F8 key or click on ground crew. Then we're gonna hit the F1 key, hit or click on the rearm refuel, and it brings you to this screen. So I'm just gonna load up a bunch of rockets here on the outside pylons. Right-clicking on the pylon and left-clicking the rocket. And then for bombs, I'm just going to take two small 250-pound bombs and call it a day. And then actually I'm going to left click on each of the bomb ordinances. I haven't tested this out fully within the Corsair. However, with the other Warbirds, you usually have to have one of these plugged. The bomb will not go off if you have both fuses plugged, usually on the Warbirds. I haven't tested it out fully per se with the Corsair, but I'm going to plug the tail fuse well just for keeping that motion intact of operating my Warbirds. And I'm going to change the fuse personally because I don't like the revs here. So off to right below the fuse, you should see an arming. If it has the option, there's an arming vane revs here required. This essentially is almost in milliseconds, the revolutions. This is a safety mechanism. If these 300 revolutions do not occur, It's like a mechanical fuse within the bomb. It's just a gear mechanism that's just rotating. So essentially, if the gear does not rotate 300 times, the bomb will not go off. Um, it's a safety mechanism. At 300 seems a bit much for me, so I'm just going to change it. 130 sounds good to me. Then off to the right of it, if the fuse has it as a feature, a function delay. I do like to have function delays unless I'm bombing a moving target. What a function delay does, how that is different from the arming vein, the arming revs. The arming revs is a safety feature. The function delay is more or less of an impact feature. So after impact, the bomb will explode 4 seconds after impact. This gives you like a good enough time to sort of like skate away or get away per se from any blast radius if you are dropping low, and or if you want to hit the F2 button and see the bombs explode or whatnot, or within the F6 screen watching the bombs, you know, you can implement a function delay. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna keep it on this fuse here, and I'm gonna make sure the other bomb is the same.
Request rearming. Copy.
Sorry, just took another sip of water right there. So while we're waiting for that to arm, for the ground crew to do that, let's just talk about how to adjust for rudder and aileron trim. I'm skipping ahead of myself a little bit here, but I want to just talk about what a instrument here that helps us indicate which way we need to turn our trim to the left or right. So during flight, we have a slip.
Rearming complete.
Sorry, just letting the ground crew guy finish. We have a slip gauge indicator. It's on our center instrument panel. To the bottom of that center instrument panel, you will see an instrument. It has a black ball in the center, at the bottom center, and a white needle to the top of it. The black ball is for your rudder trim input, and the white needle is for your aileron or your roll trim input. So the black ball is indicating your rudder slippage, and the white needle is indicating your aileron or your roll slippage. So how to read this is, if this black ball is off to the left, you need to apply left rudder trim. If this white needle is off to the right, you need to apply left aileron trim. So again, if the black ball is off to the left, you need to apply same direction rudder trim into that same direction to the left. If the white needle is off to the right, you need to apply opposite direction of aileron trim to the left. So black ball, same direction, white needle, opposite direction. I recommend you adjust for rudder trim first and then adjust for aileron trim after. Usually adjusting for rudder trim helps solve some of your issues in regards to the aileron trim. So I usually do rudder first, then aileron trim. Alright. Okay, now that we have the ordnance on our airframe here, we're actually going to talk about how to arm them on the ground. Obviously you would not do this, but in regards to training purposes, it's just easier to talk about while we're on the ground here. So I'm going to move my kneeboard to the next page. In regards to the kneeboard, just for your essay, there is a page here with just some like flight procedures and other nifty information. So also in regards to that fuel pump from before, if you recall, talking about the fuel pump of when you needed to have it on or off, that is indicated here on this page in that fuel section. That's the third bullet for the fuel pump. It's right there for you. But we're going to go to the armament procedures page. So first up, we'll talk about how to arm the guns. For gun arming, we need to ensure our master arm is on. The master arm for our weapons is located to the top left of our center instrument panel. So located on the top left over here of this row of switches. The master arm is going to be the second switch from the left. It's indicated with the words master arm to the top and off to the bottom. Just left click that into the upward for the arm position. Next up is we gotta activate the gun ports that we want to fire. You can have all three on, or a certain sequence of them armed. So right, the outboard how to read this is the outboard, right? That's the furthest outboard gun on the wing. That's the one. It's the gun to the furthest exterior part of the wing. The inboard is the gun on the inside exterior of the wing, and the gun center is the gun that's located in between the outboard and inboard. You have 3 guns on each wing, so you can just left click them all on if you wish. Next up, we turn on our gun sight. That's also located to the top left. Left is for gun, up is for gun sight, right is for the alternative method. In game, currently module, they both do the same thing. So just left click it into the upward position. And then to the right of that, you have a black knob that's rotating on the screen right now. This controls the gun sight brightness that you can see changing color right now. Just adjust it to the brightness of your choosing. And then probably the most skipped part is we got to charge the guns. We essentially just think of it, if you are familiar with firearms, you got to pull the charging handle, rack around and whatnot. So we just got to pull the charging handle on our guns. The charged our guns, that's going to be located in our footwell here. So if we're looking at our footwell, off to the left hand side of the footwell, off by our left foot, you're going to see 2 silver or gray knobs per se. You're just going to left click each one into the red. It goes into a downward position, and that arms all your 3 guns. The top one, all your guns. That arms your left and right set of guns. Alright, and yeah, that's how you arm the guns. Next up, we talk about bomb arming. How to arm the bombs. Same thing, we gotta ensure our master arm is on, which we already did to the top left of our cockpit. Turn on our gun sight to help us aim, which we already did. It's all located to the top left of the sensor panel as well. Next up is the bomb arming switch. That's located to the, if we're looking at a center panel, off to the top right of it, on the top of the right hand side of the center panel. There's another row of switches. The bomb arming is going to be the second switch from the right. You're going to see the words tail arming and nose/tail arming. So you're going to select the appropriate fuse. This is in regards to the fuse, nose fuse or tail fuse. So you're going to just select the appropriate fuse setting. I'm using a nose setting, so I'm going to put it down to nose/tail or both. And that's the bomb arming switch. And next up, you're going to identify which bombs you want released. So you have a left pylon, a right pylon, and a center pylon released on the top right. To drop both, I took 2 bombs, so to drop both of the bombs, I would just simply left click the left and the right pylon into the upward position for release. If I wanted to just drop the left, I'll just leave that up and vice versa. And that's how you arm the bombs. Next up, we have rockets on board, and we'll go through the rocket set. Again, we need to make sure our master arm is on, which we already did to the top left of the center panel. Next up, we need to turn on the rocket, or arm the rockets. To do that, there is a separate rocket control box within the cockpit that's located here. If you're looking at the center panel, off to the far right of it, there is a separate black box on the outside wall here. It's got a 1 in the window here. It's got the words ARM here and whatnot. So what we need to do is look at the spread switch towards the bottom of it. If you hover over it, it's rocket box switch cover. Just left click it to open up that switch, and then you're gonna left click that other switch below it into the upward position for on to turn on this rocket box. And then after that, you go into left click the next switch to the right of it, rocket box arm/safe. Just left click that switch into the arm mode and into the upward position to arm the rockets. On here, you have a single to fire a single pair, or auto to fire all the rockets on board. We're just going to leave it on single to fire a single pair of rockets. And that's that. And again, the Corsair is a bit glitchy. You can see that the reticle disappeared. It's just a bit glitchy, the Corsair module, so just bear with it. So that's how you arm the weapons. that we currently have on board for today. Again, the next lesson we'll go over the bat bomb. I do not show the Tiny Tim during the course or whatnot. It's fairly simple to use. It's a high-powered rocket bomb, like if you want to call it that. It's just a very high-powered rocket. You do not need to have to lead the target in regards to elevation per se. It's very high-powered. As long as you're within like 7,000 to 6,000 feet, I would say at least 6,000 feet. You do not have to do any elevation control. Just put the reticle on target per se and fire, giving your dive angle attack, and it's got a big blast radius. So if you are using it, be sure to have enough altitude above it. Just fire and pull from a great distance. You'll be fine. And we'll go over the attack profiles when we're up in the air. But now let's go over to taxiing. I'm going to move my knee board over to the left, back to the beginning of the page. So let's talk about taxiing. So first off, let's put down our wings here. To spread our wings, to put our wings down, to do that, we're going to look off to our left-hand side here. To the back left-hand side behind us, so to speak, you will see a black handle and this sort of arch-looking lever. You should see these labels here to lock, wing, hinge, pin, pull to turn. So in the upward position, there are hinge pins that are extruding out from the wing that will either lock the wing in place or keep the wing from folding all the way down completely. So to fold our wings, we want to send that handle in the downward position to ensure that's unlocked. The hinge pins are sort of retracted per se. And then next up, we want to send this forward into the spread position, and that would we're going to leave it there for the duration. And when these wings fold down, when they get fully down, there's a piece of the wing. You can sort of see it here. This little sliver of the wing with this red, and then this red hedge pin. This will be extruding out. This will be sticking up. When it folds down and becomes flush with the wing, same thing with this red pin. When these two pieces come flush with the wing is fully spread. At that point, you will pull up this handle and lock it in place. So I'm actually going to show you what happens when this handle is in the upward position, and I put the wings to spread, which I just did. The wings are coming down. Again, I have this in the upward position. I just want to show you what happens. It's going to stop the wing from folding down. You see this right here? Alright, you hear an audio tone. That's indicating that the wings are sort of in a downward position, and it's still not locked. You can see right here, this is protruding upward, and this pin is protruding upward. That's indicating the wings are not locked. If I pull this handle down, the wing came a bit more down. That's closing, and the pins are down. And then I can bring this back up, and now the audio tone has dissipated as everything's nicely locked in place. Alright, so now let's talk about taxiing. Following our procedure here, we want to unlock the tail wheel and ensure our hook is up. To unlock the tail wheel, that's located on the left hand side. It's going to be this red handle right here that I'm clicking right now, up and down. Downward position is locked, upward position is unlocked. It's also indicated here with a label to unlock the tail wheel, pull and turn, which means to pull it up. Essentially when it's in the downward position, so the tail wheel is only going to rotate like 60 degrees to the left and 60 degrees to the right in the same like manner as the rudder per se, right? You're only going to get that much wiggle room with the tail wheel. With the tail wheel the tail wheel unlocked, it releases the tail wheel to free it up for free movement, like almost complete 360 degree movement, more like 180, just a little bit over 180 degree free tail wheel movement per se. That allows us to actually make turns and make the turns we need. Next part in regards to that checklist right there is the hook up. That is referring to the resting hook, the hook that we use to catch wires on the carrier for landing. To ensure that is up, that's going to be located on our right hand side. That's also located to the back right hand side. It's going to be located underneath this red and a green switch. It has the words arresting hook. It's another arch-like lever. By default, it should be in parking position, which I kind of probably screwed up a little bit on moving. Nope. Alright, still functional. Just bring it into the upward position to ensure we're not damaging anything with it being any at all part of touching the tail wheel. Just leave it in the upward position. Alright, for taxiing, it can be quite difficult to do within the Corsair at start. So the way to taxi within the Corsair, I always recommend to keep the stick aft while taxiing for safety, to avoid tipping the airframe over. If you accidentally give it a lot of throttle, and a lot of throttle that you just did it unexpectedly, you could tip the airframe over and smash the propeller. To avoid doing that, just hold the stick in the aftward position to avoid the airframe from tipping forward. I'm reading this checklist. It's showing here that we want to hold down our brakes and increase RPM, our manifold pressure. We want to apply some throttle with the brakes down and then release the brakes. That's just to give the airframe a nice rolling start to allow you to turn. To make turns in the Corsair, you do need some momentum. In addition to the rudder control, the rudder input, you can also use differential brakes. As you can see, left and right are interchangeable here. You can use differential brakes to turn left or right. So, for instance, if I wanted to turn left, I'll apply left rudder and then just use left brake, or tap the left brake a little bit, or as much as I needed to implement a turn. Just with the Corsair, just be cautious with turning. Don't oversteer. You can oversteer quite easily, especially when using differential brake. If you use the brake in one direction, just apply slight rudder in the opposite direction shortly after, just to account for any oversteering. Right, it can become quite exponential. It's sort of like an exponential factor with the tail wheel unlocked. As you turn, your turn radius will increase and increase slightly over time. So just be mindful of that. You should be fine given where you are on the taxiway to use just rudder to turn. As you can see, that the engine is right in front of us. The slipstream is right over the fuselage, and our rudder is right within the slipstream. So it does provide some decent control over the airframe. So without further ado, I'm going to execute taxiing. I'm going to hit right control enter to bring up my my inputs off to the bottom left there, so you can see what I'm doing. Again, I apologize. I didn't forgot to put in my park and brake. We are on the grass here, so it could be a bit interesting for taxiing or getting back onto the runway. Just going to go in the F2 screen and make sure there's nothing in front of me in regards to lights on the ground. In regards to that sense for taxiing, you can taxi quite a few different ways. You can use an S-turn like shape, like going left to right while taxiing, like moving like a snake, to see what's in front of you. As you can see, we have a huge nose in front of us. It's quite hard to see in front of us. So taxiing from left to right is a good way to see what's in front of you. If you know nothing's in front of you, if you absolutely know nothing's in front of you, you can just like look to your left and to your right and measure the distance from the grass from your left to your right to remain centered on the taxiway, or use any other points of reference like white lines or whatnot to remain centered while taxiing and for lining up on the runway. So without further ado, I'm just going to put my stick in the aft. I have my brakes engaged. I'm moving my RPMs up to about 1500 RPMs, and then we're going to release the brakes. And it looks like I might have screwed up the video here. Yep, Corsair is a bit buggy. Looks like it might have got stuck here. Yep, just had a getting stuck here on the grass is all. Yeah, it's just getting stuck here on the grass. So keep it rolling. Yep, so I apologize for that. Just getting stuck here on the grass. So again, just be sure to engage your parking brakes right at the start. I did not, to avoid instances like this. But, yeah, we got out of that situation just fine. Just had to apply more throttle and leave it there. Once you get a good amount of momentum, you're going to bring it back down to 800 RPMs for cruising to avoid oversteering. But I'm going to center up here on the runway. And also, at this point, I'm going to lock my tail wheel and let the airframe roll forward a bit. I'm doing this to ensure that tail wheel is straightened out for me. And once I feel like I roll the forward a bit and straighten out the tail wheel, I'm just going to apply the brakes. I'm going to set my parking brake, and while we discuss the takeoff parameters. Alright, so next up, that covers taxiing. I know that was quite a bad taxi. I apologize again, I just rolled forward onto the grass there by accident. But let's discuss taxiing, takeoff. So in regards to our checklist, we want to have our brakes on, which we do have right now. Ensure our wings are spread and locked. Our resting hook is in the upward position. The tank is set to reserve, which we did at the start. Mixture is set to rich, which we did also on the start. If you take a hot start, the mixture will be set into auto lean, so be sure you do send that forward. We want to ensure our supercharger is in the neutral position, which it is from the startup procedure. Propeller is down the full max, which it is from the startup procedure. Cowl flaps. So, in regards to the cowl flaps, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the cooling management system right at this point right now, actually. For the cowl flaps, as mentioned sort of before, right at the beginning, they manage the cooling of the cylinder heads for your engine block. The cylinder head temperature reading gauge is located on the center instrument panel off to the right here. There's an instrument here with the word CYL temp in Celsius. That is your cylinder head temperature. You just sort of want to keep the cylinder head temperature within that blue range. That is your goal per se during flight. And for the most part, with the cowl flaps, you can just leave it. I'm moving my cowl flaps right now. I'm closing my cowl flaps. I'm gonna close them all the way. For the most part, during flight, you can essentially just leave them open like that, and that will be like just the great amount where you don't really need to play with the cowl flaps per se for the duration of your entire flight. The cooling system for the Corsair is quite broken right now. But in regards to like leaving your cowl flaps in a certain position for like a long duration of your flight, something like that will suffice. Again, just check this every like 3 to 5 minutes. Just give it a quick glance of where it's at and adjust your cowl flaps. Here in regards to our checklist, you want it half to 2/3 open. I'm just gonna leave it like that. That looks fine to me. Next up is our intercooler and oil cooler open. Closed and oil cooler open. Again, the cooling management system isn't quite working. I haven't any issues right now taking off with this closed, the oil cooler closed. But let's just follow the procedure here. So in regards to the intercooler closed and oil cooler open, that's going to be located on the right hand side. Off to the top part of the right hand side, there's these 3 black levers again. The furthest left black lever is going to be your oil cooler. Again, if you send it forward, it opens it. In regards to our checklist, we want this fully opened. That's fully opened for oil cooler. And then next up, the intercooler is set to closed. The intercooler is also on the right hand side to the top. Amongst those 3 black levers. It's the middle lever. You just want to right click it and bring it down to close. Ensure it's fully closed. The gauge for that, if you didn't see it or I failed to mention it, it's the spring loaded gear here. So in regards to the oil cooler, you see the spring raising this up towards closed. That's closed. Push this forward for open. The spring comes down to open. That's open. And the intercooler is located right there on the inside of your wings. And the oil cooler should be below the fuselage. Can't quite get a good angle on it. If you are curious, I haven't tested it out. The Corsair had a nickname of the Whistling Death during its dive bombs. To actually get like according to some um, I don't want to say folklore, some stuff on it, reading for the manuals and whatnot. Um, if you open up the intercooler, if you open it fully, it should create like a whistling, howling sound during your dive bomb. So if you ever want to try that out, just give that a shot. I haven't tried it, but that is the way you would do it, is open up that intercooler, and it should create some kind of howling sound. And I'm going to increase my RPMs here. I forgot to leave my RPMs at 750. I'm just going to increase my RPMs here with my throttle, leave it at 1,000, as I just noticed my battery dropped below. Alright, next up, in regards to our takeoff checklist, we want to send our flaps down 20 degrees. You can take off just fine, depending on your weight with no flaps. I am going to put down flaps of 20 since I do have some weight. The flaps are located on the left-hand side. They're sort of along the left-hand wall here. You should see this lever with the word flaps on it. There's a lever right here. It's clickable in game. You can left-click it or right-click it. Left-click it down, right-click it for up. And the indicator is up degree percentage-wise. It's right here. I'm going to put it to 20. Next up is some trim management. This is all really personal preference on how much trim you want to do. In regards to this profile, or how I'm going to do it, I am going to just sort of eyeball it halfway between 5 and 10. So, first up, the rudder trim. Our rudder trim is located on our left-hand side. The rudder trim indicator is going to be this back knob here, this white silver knob here, like a sprinkler hose knob per se, an old-style sprinkler hose knob. It has words nose left, nose right, trim directional. You can right-click it. Nope, I thought you could right-click it. All right. Either way, I'm going to use my keybind for my rudder trim. It rotates that right until it gets halfway between the 5, which is that first dash, and halfway between 10, and that's going to be good enough for me. Next up is going to be the aileron trim. That's going to be the next instrument on our left-hand side. It's got the words trim lateral on it here, left wing down, right wing down. Again, I'm going to just rotate it right until it's halfway between 5 and 10, just for simplicity, and that's going to be good enough for me. And then next up is our nose trim. In this instance, it says elevator up 1. I am going to leave it at its current position of 0, because I have a lot of weight. Let me explain that. So, at least with the other warbirds, when you had more weight, like a lot more ordnance and a lot more fuel, with more weight, you usually want to have more nose trim down for takeoff. So, for taking off the warbirds, you sort of want the warbirds to take off by itself, by pure airlift generation. You sort of want the warbird to take off vertically by itself. You can see that, with this propeller engine, right, it's not quite powerful per se. It doesn't really have too much thrust behind it to induce a good enough climb rate with the current weight and or drag profile that we create here. Let me put it on the second screen here. See how we're angled upper here? We have a lot of surface area against the windage, creating a lot of drag in this sort of configuration. We want to applying more nose trim down as we increase in weight. Keeps the bird more of a 2-point configuration. It keeps it in a less of a drag mode state. To allow us to increase our speed, or per se, to allow us to initiate a climb up without stalling. So as we get more weight, we want to apply more nose trim down. We want to just keep the bird we just want to keep the bird on the ground for as long as possible, and in more of a horizontal flight path, more of an aerodynamic flight path, to have less drag, to ensure we're getting more speed, to ensure that we are able to climb up at a better rate per se without stalling the aircraft. The Corsair will want to pitch up earlier than it should, depending on your nose trim setting, so just be mindful of that. You just want to ensure that you have enough speed and you're not pitching up too quickly or too drastically before you are actually able to. Um, that'll become. I'll show you takeoff. It's just going to take practice. You'll see what I'm saying once you get more practice and you happen to stall out and crash because you try to lift off too much. Um, so essentially, again, you just want the airframe to take off by itself. You really don't. You don't want to apply. You don't want to apply any aft on your stick, really. Like if you do this, you do not want to do this on takeoff. You do not want to pull the stick full aft on takeoff. It's just, if anything, just very slightly like that. Just very slightly like that. You can barely see anything. If you're looking at the input to the bottom left, like that's barely nothing. That's all you really want to do. You just sort of want to monitor your airframe and just keep it sort of at a horizontal plane, flying configuration, and let the airframe lift off by itself by pure airlift generation. Talking about trim and rudder control during our takeoff, in our current rudder control, our current trim configuration, with the tail wheel down while we're rolling down the airfield, it's going to want to yaw to the right. The airframe is going to want to move off to the right with the tail wheel down. As soon as that tail wheel comes up, the airframe is going to want to yaw to the left, based on our current trim configuration. There are quite a few ways to take off. I'm going to show you just the basic concept of taking off, the basic way of taking off, taking off gradually over time by using just slight manifold pressure, just gradually increasing the manifold, the throttle over time. And let me also explain that instrument because I've failed to mention how that sort of works. When I say manifold pressure, it's essentially measuring the amount of pressure you're injecting, air pressure or fuel pressure per se, into the system with your throttle. That's how we read our throttle input with this manifold in mercuries of inches. The manifold pressure reading, or your throttle gauge reading, is on the center instrument panel off to the left hand side. There's an instrument called MAN. You can see as I move the throttle, it goes up or down. Same thing with RPMs. Discussing about this manifold pressure, we'll talk about engine settings right now. As we increase in altitude, as mentioned, this is based on pressure. As we increase in altitude, this would change over time by itself. So for instance, as we climb, this will drop as we increase in altitude. So you're going to have to be mindful of that. If it starts to drop and you need to maintain about 43 manifold pressure, for an example, you're going to have to apply more throttle to maintain that manifold pressure rating as you climb up in altitude. And same thing, when you descend in altitude, this will increase. So just be mindful of that to adjust your throttle for those changes of pressure as you increase and decrease in altitude. If you're climbing in altitude and you're at full throttle and this manifold reading is only at 30 and you need more manifold pressure, that is when you use your supercharger. You would increase the supercharger from neutral to low to high as you increase in altitude. And when you decrease in altitude, you would put this from high back down to low and back down to neutral. There is a nice indicator for that, or to assist you in regards to what setting you should be at, high, low, or neutral. I want to say an easy indicator for that. I would say a general indicator for that is if you look at the center instrument panel, off to the top here, you see a label called Carb Air Temp. Off to the right of that, there is a light. This will flash red or turn on red if you are in too of a high setting than what the engine sort of recommends or what it's calculating that you should be at. When that turns red, that's usually a good indicator. You should drop your supercharger down. Else, we can use the engine settings page. There are sort of two pages available to us in regards to engine settings. If we use our knee board, left control, and I'm going to move off to the left, we have some engine settings here that are recommended for operating at. And off to our left-hand side, along the left-hand side of the wall of the cockpit, we have a nice engine chart rating here. You can see here, for what we're about to do, there's a takeoff setting for the supercharger in the neutral position to be at 2700 RPM, or essentially full max RPM. And then we have a manifold pressure reading of 53.5. That is actually the max manifold pressure rating for safety. You don't necessarily have to be at 53, but that is the max allowed for safety without doing damage to the engine. You can, depending on your weight and how much runway you have, you can safely take off at like 43 or 45 manifold pressure just fine. And then off to the right of that is the mixture setting, saying that we should be in auto rich for this configuration. To read this chart, using the normal rating setting here, so say for instance, this right here, this column right here, the middle column, it says minimum altitude. You see here you have a sea level 8,000 and 19,500. This is in feet. So say we're at 8,000 feet or somewhere between 8 and 15,000 feet. Reading this chart, we should be in a low supercharger state, still operating at 2550 RPM, and we should be operating at 47.5 manifold pressure in a auto rich setting to maintain this engine rating profile for a normal rating profile. That is sort of how you read that chart from left to right within these boxes of sections here. You just read it left and right, so neutral will be sea level at 43.5 manifold pressure. That's how you read that chart. When it comes to climbing, you have here takeoff, military power for combat, normal rating, and max cruise for saving gas and whatnot, fuel. When it comes to climbing, there is not a climbing rate on here. However, within this knee board, there's a row here that says rated. This is good to use for climbing. This rated engine setting profile is good for climbing, the rated section. If you're climbing in altitude, you should use that right there for climbing, for optimal climb performance. Alright, I think that explains superchargers and stuff like that. Let's go back to the checklist. Again, this is very ad hoc. I'm doing this live, trying to do it in a single recording per se. So there may be some things I miss or are explaining on the way. But I hope you don't mind that and appreciate that I'm doing this live for you. As you see, there's some mistakes I already did, and I'm learning some new things on the way with this module, as it is in early access and has some bugs to it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take off. I'm going to hit the F10 map. So after takeoff, we're going to fly to this ground target range. We're going to do a dive bomb procedure first, then rocket attack strafe and gun attack strafe. And actually, yeah, I can pause the video if needed. Let me confirm I can still pause the video. Yep. Alright, I'll pause the video in flight if needed. So, I'm going to engage my parking brakes, my wheels, my gear brakes. Again, same thing for taxiing. We start off with the stick in the aftward position for fuel takeoff, just for safety, in regards to the way I'm teaching it here. Start off with the stick in the aft position for safety. I'm going to explain the process, then execute. So if the stick in the aft position gears and brake, I'm going to increase my throttle until I get RPMs of about 18 or 2,000 RPMs per se. And then at that point, I'm going to release my brakes and let the stick gradually come centered, and also increasing my throttle until I get to about 50 or 53 manifold pressure reading, while maintaining, staying on the runway. I'm not too good of maintaining flight per se while talking, so if I'm all over the place, please disregard, because it's quite hard for me to multitask while talking. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and execute, and once I get airborne, my gears come immediately up. I'm going to wait until I get to about 110 knots. Our speed indicator here is located on the center instrument panel to the bottom, off to the left. It's in knots. Once we get to about 95 knots, the airframe should start to lift off. Again, I'm going to ensure the airframe doesn't point or pitch up by itself. I'm going to maintain a horizontal sort of flying per se, and let the airframe take off by itself vertically by pure airlift generation. So as soon as I'm off the ground and I know that I have positive rate of climb, my gear is coming up, I'm going to wait until I get to like 110 knots, and then I'm going to start raising my flaps up one at a time. I recommend raising your flaps in increments over time, just one, like a few seconds after each other, because it will shake your aircraft. It's gonna mess up your trim. Just do it slowly over time. You'll be fine. So let's go ahead and do that. Gears are down, brakes are down. Stick in the upward position. Applying some throttle. Watching the RPMs. Release the brakes at 2,000 per se. Releasing the brakes. Letting the stick come centered. So applying some throttle, applying some left rudder. So applying some throttle, applying some left. Letting go on the left rudder a little bit. Stancing with the rudder. Tail is coming up. That's good enough manifold pressure for me. And I'm not even looking at my speed. I'm just sort of feeling the aircraft, how it's doing, lifting up my gear. I got a positive rate. My gears are coming up. Again, you see how I'm keeping my nose slightly. I'm not fully pitched up in a 3-point configuration. I'm just keeping it sort of gradually centered. I'm raising my flaps. And that's a successful takeoff. So, in regards to our climbing profile, I'm first going to reduce my manifold, my throttle to 44. And when you're decreasing speed, always move the manifold first, or decrease the manifold first, and then move the RPMs. You shouldn't put your manifold or your throttle in a greater percentage than your RPMs for the most part. It's just, in regards to the manuals, that's quite bad for the engine. So just be mindful that in regards to percentage, like where your throttle sits at, like right now it's at like 50% of throttle use within that throttle quadrant. And my propeller is at like 75% within that quadrant. So that's what I mean by greater percentage. And just monitor that manifold and keep it at that climb rate. So again, we're going to fly towards the target range. And I'm going to try to adjust my trim right now. You're going to be constantly adjusting your trim. It's just what it is with warbirds. And I'm just going to do a gun check here. Yeah, it's not working right now. It's a bit buggy. There we go. Just had to swap it on and off. Again, the Corsair is a bit buggy. There's going to be a lot of bugs to it. It is in early access. Just be mindful of that. It is still a nice module. It's just buggy. So let me line up or get in line with the target range. Fly towards the target range. So in regards to our dive bomb parameters, we're going to move our knee board. We're at the bomb section here. So, in regards to dive bombing, I would say you want to be at like 8,000 feet. The higher the better per se. Don't go too high in regards to when you're coming for your dive to avoid overspeeding. I say 8,000 feet, pretty good altitude. I would say at minimum you want to be at least above 6,000 feet when it comes to warbirds of diving. But we're going to aim for like about 7,500 feet. And execute a dive bomb procedure attack. In regards to reading our checklist here, you can see at the bottom where it says bombs, throttle back, 45 to 60 degree dive. So once we get to a distance of from our target, of where we want to achieve a dive angle of 45 to 60 degrees, we're going to roll onto our target and cut the throttle. We also have speed brakes within the Corsair. It's deployed with a keybind called air brake. So just find the keybind air brake and apply it. I believe it's B by default. Essentially, the air brakes just deploy the two front wheels that have a piece of the airframe on it that acts as speed brakes. So I'm just going to just find these tugboats, which should appear with from smoke, and I'll talk about the bomb attack method that we're going to execute. And I'm just going to continue to climb. I'm actually going to rotate my climb here to ensure I have a good enough distance to show you the bombing method that we're going to execute. Just monitoring my pressure reading. As mentioned, right, that's dropping as I increase in altitude. So I'm applying more throttle to maintain my climbing rates. We also have here on the center panel a VSI, vertical speed indicator. It's in thousands of feet per minute. Usually I would say a good climb rate that you want to look for is 2,000 feet per minute. And then our bank indicator is also within the center instrument panel. It's in 30 degrees. Each dash is 30, so 30, the next one will be 60, the top one's 90. A typical normal bank angle is about 30 degrees on a lot of the procedures. If you are following landing procedures and whatnot, the typical bank angle is about 30 degrees in executing. So I know I don't have the targets in sight yet, but we're going to talk about the bombing method procedure that I'm going to execute. So what's going to happen is, I'll reiterate this as the targets come into view. We're going to line up our reticule with the target in question. Once we line up the target in question with our reticule, we're going to look at our heading. So say the target's in front of me here. I'm heading about like 295. With that in mind, I would start turning either left or right. It doesn't matter which direction. I would turn either left or right. So in this instance, if I was heading 295, the target's at 295, I'll turn left 20 degrees. So 285, left 20 degrees until I get to 275. And then I would roll back, and the target should be in my view when I do this, right there. And then I will roll back past 295, another 20 degrees, and then roll back again and continue that half roll attack until I got to the desired distance for a dive angle. So I see the targets there, a bunch of tugboats. We're going to sort of execute that procedure. I'm going to climb up a little bit. And once we execute our dive, I cut my throttle before I do my dive, and doing that, the aircraft rolls to the right. So when you cut the engine, when you bring the throttle back, the aircraft rolls to the right. When you increase the throttle, the engine rolls to the left. Your airframe rolls to the left. So I cut my throttle before I enter my dive, and that rolls my airframe to the right. So I'm just going to roll to the right. However, during the dive, you're going to need to use left rudder to remain on target. So we're just going to stop at 6,000 feet here, because that's as high as I'm going to get, per se. I'm going to line up the target, or the target route, per se. It's 255. I'm going to turn left to 275 degrees. Or, sorry, turn left to 245 to 235. See, target's right there. Rolling right again. 255, 275. Rolling left again. Target's right there. I was at 255. I already forgot. And I think this will be my last row into 235. Then I'm going to bring it back to 255. I'll go back to 27 or past it. Got another roll in me, I think. 265, 275. Alright, and I'm going to go back to 255 and execute my dive bomb, I think. Yeah, I'm just going to fly straight for a bit here. So again, I'm going to cut my throttle. I'm going to roll. I'm going to deploy my speed brakes and hope for the best. Cutting my throttle, rolling. Make sure my supercharger is also neutral. I'm going to continue the roll and roll out the level. Alright, I'm going to line up the target with the reticle, applying left rudder. And then I'm going to bring the target below my nose, and at this angle, I'm going to let it drop below my nose quite a bit before I release the bombs. Alright, I'm going to execute, pulling up right now, letting the target drop below my nose, and dropping, pickle. Oh, I was a bit off. I was aiming for the first one, and it went way over. So I should have released earlier. But that's sort of how you execute that procedure. Again, you can see that it's not really precise. It's more of an art than a science. It's going to take a lot of precision and consistency. So I recommend when doing air-to-ground attacks, always take the Tiny Tims or the HVAR rockets. They're just easier or more consistent, I should say, to use. And when we escape out of our dive bomb, I don't think I applied my speed brakes on that one. Alright, so there are my speed brakes coming out right now. I feel good to apply my speed brakes, but see, only the 2 front wheels came out. That's how, that's the air brakes. So while coming out of the dive, I recommend if you're already rolling right or already rolling left, just escape out that same direction that you're already having to be naturally rolling towards, and stay low as possible while pulling out of your attack. Whether it's a gun run, rocket run, or dive bomb, just do not pull up and out. Just stay low and change the vector. Sort of use terrain masking to your advantage. If you pull up and out, you're just exposing yourself to more AAA anti-air fire. So just stay low as possible and just change your vector. So we're going to swap over to rockets. For an attack profile with rockets, you want to be like at a more of a low profile, like 2,500 feet per se, and coming in at like a 25 degree, anywhere from like a 25 to 45 degree angle of attack. You're going to place your reticle up and over the target, and then once you're at like 600 yards, you can dip your reticle onto the target to aim it that way and fire. Just keep in mind the HVARs have a short distance and they have a short fuse range, like a short fuse time. So just take that into account in regards to like how you're aiming or leading your target. You will need to lead your target in elevation per se to account for the rocket drop. And I'm only at like 1,000 feet. And again, you don't have to necessarily be at 2,500 feet, but 2,500 feet is a good altitude, or 1,500 feet should be fine. So I'm just going to do a quick demonstration and fire all of my rockets. And then I'll show guns as well. But guns operate the same way. It's again same profile as rockets. Low to the ground, 2,500 feet or less, and a low profile of like 25 angle degree of attack. So again, I'm keeping the reticle above the target. I'm still pretty far away, so I'm just aiming pretty high above the target. And now I'm dropping my nose onto this first target here a little bit. It's going to be the first target I'm going for, just in front of me. I'm going to drop the nose above it. Again, I just want to make sure I have altitude. Putting the reticle above it. Firing, keeping the reticle above it because it's still a bit far. Yep. And that's a good way to do it. If you took multiple rockets, just fire a single pair to gauge it, and then fire the rest when you know you're going to be on target. And I'm just pressing the rocket button to make sure all are gone, all are off the rail. There's one thing I want to also mention in regards to attack runs. As I mentioned before, when you decrease your throttle, you see how the airframe turns to the right? When I increase throttle, the airframe wants to sort of roll to the left, or it's going to want to go to the left when I increase throttle. With that in mind, you sort of want to identify the speed you want to go in at during your attack run, and then not touch the throttle or avoid touching it as much as possible. As mentioned, right, when I decrease the throttle, I'll roll to the right, increase, I'll roll to the left. It's just going to throw you off your attack run that much more. So try not to play with the throttle during your attack run. Identify where you want it to be at the start of your attack, and then sort of leave it there and don't touch it. The guns, I couldn't find exact documentation on it. They should be anywhere from 400 to 500 yard range convergence. Within the mission editor, it shows as 500 for convergence. I would take that as it is. They look pretty far at like 500. Firing them now. They look decently far, convergence range. And it's going to be quite similar to the rocket attack. Just going to line up the target above. And you're really going to apply more left rudder than anything, or left trim, to stay on target while you increase in speed. Again, if anything, just give it like a test fire to see your distance, and once you know you're going to hit the target, go ahead, hammer down, or nice control short burst. And again, just change vectors. I recommend for gun strafing and rocket attacks, you're probably naturally going to be rolling to the left during a gun or rocket strafe, so just escape to the left, go with the natural flow of the turn that you're coming out of, and just stay low into the ground. Alright, that covers air to ground. So let's go bring this bird back for a landing. I'm just going to clean up a little bit here. Alright, so I'm not going to show a pattern, a landing pattern per se, or anything like that. I'm just going to start increasing for altitude though. I'm going to do a straight in approach. So I'm going to move my kneeboard back to, here we go, some landing recovery procedures, or doing a field landing. So I do recommend landing with the canopy open. Allows you to hear your engine, to see what the engine's doing. I have found out, I think I related to, or I'm able to pinpoint it to this issue. If you remain in the landing configuration with your gear down, flaps deployed, and within like the full RPM power state per se, and like a good manifold pressure, if you remain in that configuration for a long period of time, at least in my experience, I had engines die out on me. Maybe I just forgot to watch my temperature reading per se, but just be mindful of remaining in a high, like a high engine induced stress load state like that for quite a long period of time. If you're boltering or going going around the airfield for an extended period of time of like more than 4.5 to 5 minutes, just clean your airframe back up, bring up the landing gear, bring up the flaps, open up the cowl flaps, just to avoid from overheating or for overstressing your airframe. Adjust the power settings back to like a normal rating per se, to avoid overstressing the airframe, the engine, and killing the engine. So going over our checklist, you would have the canopy open. I'm going to leave my closed, make sure you can hear me. We're going to want to ensure our tail wheel is locked, right? We want that tail wheel to sort of be locked to a certain degree of turn of 6 degrees left or 6 degrees right, so we're not all over the place on the runway when it hits the ground. Tank is to reserve. I actually didn't swap it back to main. Just leave it into reserve. If you did swap it over to main, just put it back in the reserve. Again, right, that's gravity fed, that reserve tank, for what my understanding of how this is operating. So you just always want to make sure you're getting fuel. Make sure it's set to rich. If you didn't set it to auto lean, I know with our engine settings, a lot of it says auto rich on the engine block there. I mean on the cockpit side wall there. But I've been told auto lean you get better performance out of during flight and combat. So just swap it back to auto rich if you did move it to auto lean. Supercharger to neutral, as we're in a sea level altitude, and RPMs to 2400. However, don't do that right now. As I mentioned sort of earlier, while changing your throttle or RPMs, first adjust your throttle. I'm going to adjust my throttle to be at 30 manifold pressure, and then I'm going to bring my RPMs back down to 2400. And I'm going to leave my cowl flip slightly open for now. I'm going to adjust my trim and line up on for the runway here. Yeah, I'm going to pull off to the left here a bit. And holding my stick to the left to keep it leveled, per se, I'm going to adjust my rudder trim. Alright, I'm going to decrease my throttle to 20 as I'm getting a good amount of speed. And I'll be closing in on the runway here. I'm trimming my aircraft. Alright, once your airframe drops below 170 knots, you can go ahead and drop your gear and start dirtying up the airframe in regards to our checklist here. I'm dropping my gear. I'm going to drop my flaps down to 30. And I'm going to, at least at this point, maintain like 115 knots or 110 knots per se. I'm going to just monitor that. I'm going to apply some more manifold pressure here to try to maintain 110 knots as I'm still lining up a bit. Within the Caucasus map, especially on the Caucasus map, don't be afraid to overshoot the runway. If anything, if you feel like you need more speed, give yourself more speed. If at any point you need more speed, increase your RPMs to full max, then the throttle. And if anything, always coming a bit faster and or higher. Don't be afraid to overshoot the threshold of the runway, especially here on the Caucasus map. You got plenty of runway. You're going pretty slow here in the Warbirds, right? And the engine isn't that quite powerful. And in the 3-point configuration, you're creating a lot of drag, so it will stop with a short runway distance. With that 3-point configuration mentioned in mind, we sort of want to aim for a 2.5 to 2 3/4 point landing. We want all 3 wheels to touch down on the ground. However, for safety, I recommend, when I say a 2.5 to 2 3/4 point landing, is to avoid smacking your tail wheel into the dirt or tarmac, and also avoid your propeller smacking into the tarmac and dirt. Is what I mean to say when I say a 2.5 to 2 3/4 point landing. Because landing it on all 3 wheels at once is quite hard to do. Again, I'm talking and trying to fly at the same time. I apologize. So again, if at any point you think you need more RPMs, just send the RPM propeller into the full max position first, and then just go ahead and slightly give yourself more throttle. If at any point if you feel like you may need more boost, just give yourself more boost, just a little bit. As mentioned, when we enter that 3-point configuration, it's going to induce a lot of drag. It's going to be like a 20 knot difference. So you can see here I'm like 105 knots. As soon as I pull my nose up, it's going to drop to about 90 knots per se. As you see, right, it's dropping. I applied a little bit more throttle. Did I change the weather? So looks like there's some kind of side wind here. And we're looking for a touchdown of 90 knots. At least I think based on my weight currently, about 90 knots touchdown. If you need more speed, you can also just dip the nose. And once you feel like you're at a safe altitude above the runway, you can just go ahead and cut the throttle. Alright, I'm aiming for that 2.5 point landing. Letting it sort of glide. And letting it sort of glide a bit more and cutting the throttle. And bringing that stick slightly aft slowly. Stick is in the full aft position. Just playing with the rudders here to stay on the runway. And that's that. That's a straight-in approach, how to sort of land the warbird. And I didn't even close my cowl flaps all the way. I forgot to close those all the way, but you want to close those all the way. Again, I left them open because I was still pretty far out and I didn't want to overheat my engine in regards to being in that high stress state. You want to close your cowl flaps because, right, the induced drag. And that's that. That sort of covers the topics in regards to this video lesson. And again, I apologize, right? This is a live, I'm doing this live in a single flow motion per se. I don't use any video editing software. So I apologize with some little hiccups like the taxiway. And I'm definitely glad that I did identify that, right, in regards to the compass. This is probably one of the first airframes where I experienced battery issues. I'll discuss that more again on the radio. I had identified that with the radio to ensure you did have enough battery, but I did not know about the directional gyro as well. Alright, but that covers the part of this lesson. I will have 2 more videos. I'm going to do a separate video for air-to-air, and then another video covering the carrier ops part and the bat bomb and radio navigation part. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, hope it was useful, and thank you for watching.